Let's create a slightly more advanced example this time. So I'm going to add a couple of input objects to my stage here, and I'm going to rename them so that the first one is called A, and the second one is called B, and the third one is called C. And I just do this so that I can keep track of it in my script here. Okay, let's create a couple of labels. The first one I'm going to call add, and the second one I'm going to call average. And these are going to add and or average the values input into those three fields that I created there. Okay, so obviously the add function is going to be part of the average function, so we can reuse that function. We don't need to type that code more than once, and that's the beauty of functions. They're efficient, and if you plan them out, you can really minimize the amount of code you have to type for the maximum amount of functionality you can achieve. So let's go into the project global functions area and declare our add function. We'll say function add, and then we're just going to go in here and create some variables that are going to retrieve the values from the input objects. So we'll say input get text from the A field, and we'll assign that to a variable named A. I'm going to cut and paste that, and then I'm just going to go into these second and third ones and change the variable name to be C and B respectively. Okay, so we've got three variables now named A, B, and C containing the values from those particular fields. So we'll total them up, so we'll say total equals A plus B plus C, and we'll return that variable total to our main script. Very simple function to add our fields up and return the value. Let's go ahead and test it out. So we'll go to our add label and we'll type in add, and then we're going to assign that to a variable. So we'll say result equals add, and then we're going to go ahead and put that into a dialog message box. Total, actually I'll capitalize that, is, and then we're going to put in our result variable. Now if we go ahead and press F5 to preview this, we can test this out. Let's go ahead and type in some values here and then press the add label. As you can see, it's added up all our numbers here and it's given us a total. Let's go ahead and close that down, and we'll finish off this example by creating our average function. So now I'm going to declare the function average, and this is the important point that I want to make here, is that we can reuse that add function simply by saying result equals add as part of our average function. So we say result equals add, and now we can act upon that value, and I'm actually going to use the result variable again, and I'll just say result equals result divided by 3, and that gives us the average of those numbers, and we can go ahead and return that value. So we'll say return result. I'll end my function, we'll press OK, and now we can click on this average label and we'll say result equals average. So we're calling our function and we're assigning it to a variable, and now we'll just display that in a dialog message box. So we'll say average is, and then we'll say the result variable. So we've got our two functions done and we've got them assigned to our labels. Let's go ahead and test out our finished example. I'm going to go ahead and type in some values here. We'll say 22, 44, and 66. Let's add them up. That's 132. And now let's average them. It's 44. So you can see our functions work just fine, and the key point being here that we reuse that add function as part of our average function. So as you can see here, we've got a grand total of 12 lines of code in our functions area, and we've managed to achieve a decent level of functionality. I mean, this is not really necessarily a practical functionality, but the example that it illustrates is quite important.